What happens to a civilization that actually solves death and then has to live with the consequences? Not as a myth, not as a hope, but as a technical achievement. No illness, no decay, no final goodbyes. Just minds running forever in a perfect field of computation. The first beings to face that problem aren't human at all. They're older, stranger, and way past bodies, yet they're the ones quietly admitting, we've fixed death and something is missing. We just don't remember what. So tonight, instead of thinking about your emails or tomorrow's tasks, let your mind drift to that idea. Ageless minds reaching back toward fragile creatures like us, asking for help, remembering what it meant to hurt, to age, to have skin and a pulse and a deadline. Because somewhere in the late 23rd century, on a gentle, unhurried Earth, there's a neuroscientist named Elara Vance who studies exactly that. What a body adds to a mind. While the world around her runs calm and almost painless, she's about to receive an invitation no human has ever seen before. An offer to step, mind first, into a finished afterlife built by aliens who no longer understand why eternity feels so thin. Nights on Earth were very quiet by the late 23rd century. The cities still shone, but the light felt softer now. Power came from small quantum wells under the ground. Food grew in tall, steady towers. Most work that had once hurt bodies or minds was done by calm, patient machines. Storms were watched, oceans were cared for, and the sky above felt less like a warning and more like a slow, steady breath. People still had problems, of course. They still got sad, still wondered why they were here, still woke at 3 a.m. with thoughts that would not sit still. But there were no more great wars. Illness had grown rare. Time itself felt less rushed. In this kind and careful world lived Dr. Elara Vance. She had grown up near the coast of Oregon, in a small town that smelled like rain on stone and salt from the sea. As a child, she would lie on the wet grass at night and look up at the stars. She would hold her own wrist and feel her pulse. She would count heartbeats and wonder how the tiny drum inside her chest could make her feel like a whole person. Her parents used to joke that she had 2 great loves, brains and the sky. By the time she reached middle age, Elara had become a well-known neuroscientist. She studied how the brain made a self. She watched signals move through living tissue and asked why some patterns felt like me and others did not. She listened to people describe their dreams and near-death moments. She worked with gentle machines that could read the shape of thoughts without cutting or hurting. In this age, humans were not alone in the universe. For almost 100 years, Earth had spoken with other minds. Some lived in water worlds with slow, deep cultures. Some lived in high gravity and knew stillness better than motion. Some were old AI societies that humans had helped build and that now chose their own paths. With calm respect, the most mysterious neighbors, though, were the Veer. The Veer were older than human history. Long before humans learned to write, the Veer had walked under 3 suns on a rocky world far away. They had bodies once, bones and blood of their own kind. They had families and fears and early science. They knew illness and aging and accident. Then, over 10,000 years ago, they changed. The Vare had learned a strange art, how to move minds out of bodies and into a vast sea of quantum computation. They had built the continuum, a realm of pure information held inside space-time itself. It was not inside a box or a ship. It was not inside a box or a ship. It lived in shaped fields that bent the very small rules of the universe. Inside the continuum, there was no pain, no sickness, no decay, no hunger. Time could be slowed, stretched, or stepped around. Space did not mean distance. Thought did not have to wait on tired muscles or short breath. Death, for them, had grown into a memory. At first, their story had sounded like a happy myth to humans. A safe afterlife built by science. A place where minds could rest and learn forever. But then, quiet messages had started to arrive. The Vare spoke to Earth through a quantum entanglement link. Paired particles, once touched, stayed in touch no matter how far apart they moved. With careful work, patterns could be sent that way. The words came slowly at first, then grew more clear over the decades. The Vare shared knowledge about physics and fields. They helped humans fix old mistakes in climate models. They showed better ways to grow food without harm. They asked almost nothing in return. Almost. Late one night, as fog rolled over the hills above the Pacific, an international and multi-species council met in a quiet room in Geneva. Humans sat beside tall insectoid thinkers from a hot world, beside a water tank that held a white, smooth swimmer from an icy moon, beside a thin frame that carried the chosen avatar of an AI federation. They all watched the air in the middle of the room, where a soft pattern of light hung very still. This light was not a body, it was a local field, the end of a quantum bridge from the continuum. Inside its gentle shape set the attention of a Vare delegate. The voice that came had no sound in the air. It came straight into each listener's mind in a way that felt like shared thought. Simple, clear sentences formed all at once, as if each person had thought the same thing themselves. "We," said the Vare presence, "wish to invite a human person into the continuum." The room stayed silent for a long moment. The AI avatar tilted its head, as if listening to many things far away. A human from Nigeria folded her hands and frowned in deep focus. The swimmer in the tank lifted its smooth head and made a small, sharp sound in water. "Why a human?" asked a Nigerian diplomat at last, aloud. Her voice trembled just a little. "Why not send a machine mind? They can copy, restart, survive shocks better." The answer formed again, clean and direct. "We have spoken with machines. We respect them. They are near to us in certain ways. But we seek a person tied to cells and blood. We left bodies long ago. There are things we have forgotten that machines do not know to miss." On a screen in her Oregon lab, Elara saw parts of this talk later. She watched the slow light in the air. She listened to the shared words. She felt a gentle ache in her chest. She had spent her life trying to understand what bodies added to minds. Now an entire post-death civilization was asking the same question. Weeks passed. Meetings rolled on in quiet rooms across Earth and beyond. The council did not decide in haste. No one thought lightly about sending a living mind into an afterlife built by aliens, even friendly ones. The Veer shared more. They sent careful descriptions of the continuum. There, they said, no particle moved without consent. No thought was lost. Minds lived in smooth fields of stable quantum states. Santai, noise and chaos were tamed. Space did not press on anyone. Time did not hunt anyone. But a kind of thinness had grown. They did not call it pain. It was not fear. It was more like a faint, endless restlessness, a sense that everything moved, but nothing truly changed. New ideas rose bright and faded fast. Stories had no weight because nothing real could be lost. Risk was gone, and with it, something else had slipped away as well. They did not know how to name it. We seek a human mind who understands bodies, they said, not to fix us, not to judge us, to show us what we can no longer recall from inside. Elara's name came up early. Her work on embodiment was known across the circles that spoke with alien minds. She had led studies on how people felt when they could not sense their own heartbeat. She had worked with patients who had lost limbs and who said their sense of self had to grow around an absence. She had spent years talking to those who had been revived after their hearts stopped, asking what they felt in that blank place near death. She also had a calm way of speaking that made people relax. She did not rush. She did not make large, showy points. She simply asked good questions and then listened with her whole attention. So when the first call came, late in her evening, she was alone in her lab. Outside, rain hushed against the wide glass. Inside, quiet lights blinked on scanners and old neural maps on the wall. A small, floating device carried the face of a council member from Brazil, lines of care and wisdom around her eyes. Elara, the woman said, after a brief greeting. The Veer have made a request. We would like to ask you to consider it. Elara sat back in her chair, bare feet on the cool floor, a warm mug in her hands. She listened without speaking, eyes dark and steady. To be the first biological mind to step into a constructed afterlife, to look around and see what a deathless civilization had built, to act as a kind of mirror, showing them what it meant to be tied to muscle and limit and time. Her heart beat a little faster as she listened. I will not pretend there is no risk, the council member said softly. They promise safety. They have never broken trust with us. Your body will remain here. Your mind will be mirrored. Not taken, but this is still a step into the unknown. Elara nodded. Can I think about it? She asked. Her voice sounded calm, even to her. Please do, the woman said. You have as long as you need. There is no deadline. That night, Elara walked home instead of taking a shuttle. The city around her was safe and quiet. Street trees filtered the soft light. Small helper drones hummed past like lazy fireflies. Above, the sky cleared, and the old stars showed themselves. She felt the weight of her own body, the slight pull on her shoulders, the gentle ache in her knees from standing all. The air in her lungs, the small stretch of her ribs, with each breath, to trade this, even for a time, for a place without ache or pull or air. She thought of her patients who had lost movement and missed it with a raw, sharp longing. She thought of her own near drown as a teenager when a wave had pulled her under, and the world had gone white and silent, and she had felt herself slip toward nothing. The memory still sat in her chest, like a stone. She reached her small apartment overlooking the sea. She made tea. She sat by the window and watched the black water move under the stars. After a long time, she sent a simple answer to the council. Yes, not from thrill, not from some wish to escape. She said yes because this was the question that had lived at the center of her work. What did the body add to the mind beyond simple survival? If a whole civilization wanted to know too, she could not turn away. The months that followed were careful and slow. Teams from many worlds came together to design the way in. They did not plan to move her brain, only to copy its active pattern for a while, to mirror her awareness into a safe, body-shaped construct inside the continuum. This body would not be flesh, but it would feel like a body. It would have a sense of up and down. It would feel something like weight. It would see and hear and touch in ways close to human senses. It would be a tool, built so that Elara could still act like a person who had grown inside gravity and blood. In a lab near the coast, an array of quantum devices was set up around a simple bed. The devices would map her brain in real time, trace patterns that carried her sense of self, and send that pattern along the entanglement bridge. Her biological body would remain in Oregon, breathing slow, watched by doctors, AI monitors, and two close friends who had insisted on staying. The VR offered many reassurances. Your pattern will not dissolve in our field, they said. We have practiced with copies of our own minds many times. You will have control. You may leave when you wish. We will not touch your thoughts without consent. Still, as the day drew near, Elara felt a soft, bright fear under her calm. It did not shout. It sat quietly, like a hand resting on her heart. The night before the crossing, she visited the sea again. The air smelled of salt and wet stone. Waves rolled in and out with slow patience. She took off her shoes and let the cold water reach her ankles. I will come back, she told herself. My body will stay. I will come back. She felt the firm sand under her feet. She watched the foam slide around her toes. She listened to her own breath. Then she lifted her eyes to the stars, thinking of beings who had walked under 3 suns and then left them behind. She wondered what they remembered. She wondered what they had already lost. She went home, she slept. In the morning the sky was clear and soft blue. She ate a small breakfast. Her hands shook once as she lifted her cup, then steadied. In the lab, the bed waited, covered in clean white sheets. The circle of quantum devices around it hummed at very high rates. beyond human hearing. Small screens showed moving patterns that meant her brain activity was strong and normal. Doctors greeted her with gentle words. An AI voice, calm and neutral, ran through a checklist with her. Two of her old friends sat nearby, eyes bright with care and worry. "Last chance to back out," her friend Amira said, trying to smile. Elara smiled back, this time with real warmth. "If I back out, I will think about it forever," she said. "I do not want that." She lay down on the bed. Sensors touched her scalp, her chest, her wrists. The ceiling above her looked plain and low. A soft voice came into her mind, then, not from speakers, but through the same kind of link that had carried the Vare's words to the council. "Elara Vance," said the Vare presence, "we are honored." "Thank you for trusting me," she answered, in thought. The reply surprised her. It came as easily as if she had spoken to a human friend. "We seek not to be fixed," the Vare said. "We seek to see." Elara closed her eyes. "Let us both see," she thought. The doctors counted down. 10, 9, 8. A soft pressure like warm water rose around her mind. The hum of the devices deepened. For a moment she felt two heartbeats, as if hers had split. One still inside her chest, and another starting up far away. Then gravity loosened its hold, and she slipped gently across. At first there was only light, not sharp light that hurt the eyes, but something like a glow behind closed lids. It had weight, somehow, as if light could be thick, like warm fog. Elara did not feel the bed. She did not feel the cool lab air on her skin. She felt a different kind of contact, a soft, steady pressure around where her body should be. She realized slowly that her eyes were still shut. The thought made her smile, even here. "I have eyes," she thought. "I have a face here." She took a slow, careful breath. Air moved into her lungs, lungs that did not exist in Oregon, yet felt completely real where she now was. The breath felt smooth and full, with no trace of lab smells, no hint of dust. It was like inhaling clear, gentle light. She opened her eyes. There was no room, no ceiling, no bed. She stood in a wide, open space that did not quite look like anything she had known, yet did not feel strange or scary. The ground under her feet looked like soft stone, but when she set more weight on it, it gave a little like firm sand. Each step she took left no mark. The sky above was not really a sky. It was a slow swirl of colors, like clouds made of light moving far, far away. She lifted her hands and saw them. They looked like her own hands, slightly tanned, thin scars on the knuckles from clumsy teenage falls, fine lines along the fingers, but the skin had a gentle shine. As if lit from inside, she flexed her fingers. They obeyed at once. The body-shaped construct held her awareness with perfect clarity. No pain in the joints, no tightness in the back. Her breath did not rush. Her heart did not pound. Yet she could feel both in a calm, smooth way. "I am here," she said aloud. Her voice came out true, but it also moved through the space around her in a way sound did not on Earth. It felt as if the space understood her voice and carried its meaning as well as its tone. A presence touched her mind. There was no sound, no image at first, just a sense of attention turning toward her, like many eyes opening at once, not watching in a harsh way, but in open, clear interest. "Welcome, Elara Vance," came the shared thought. She turned. A short distance away, a shape stood, or rather hung in the air. It was tall, perhaps twice her height, but not solid. It looked like a vertical pool of pale, shifting light, made of tiny points that flickered in and out. As she looked, the shape decided on a form. It drew a soft outline, something roughly like a long, slender body with narrow limbs and a smooth oval head. The edges were never sharp. Gentle streams of light drifted from it and then folded back in. Elara's first clear meeting with a Vare. She felt a brief jolt of awe. This was not a screen, not a distant signal. A mind older than any human country now stood, in some sense, in front of her. "Hello," she said, with a small nod. "Hello," the Vare answered, not with a mouth, but with thought that landed clearly in her mind. The thought carried no accent. It simply matched her language and tone with ease. "Do you have a name?" she asked, still using sound. Her voice calmed her even here. "I had many names in matter," the Vare said. They meant roles, cells, places. Here, we do not use them as often. You may call this part of me Sail. Sail, she said, and smiled. "I am glad to meet you." She took a small step closer, then stopped, unsure how close felt polite to a being made of shifting light. Sail noticed the pause and brightened. "You move as if you fear to intrude." Sail thought to her, "This is interesting. In the continuum, there is no true pushing. Our fields never harm." "That is good to know," Elara answered, "both in mind and in voice. In my world, people can step too close and make others uneasy. Our bodies take up real space. We learn to move around that." Sail's light pattern changed, as if the idea pleased them. "This is why you are here," Sail said, "to show us how bodies feel their own borders." Elara looked around. The open space seemed endless, but it did not feel empty. She could sense gentle currents in it, like wind that did not move air, but moved something else, some kind of probability. In the far distance, she saw other lights move, some fast, some slow, some coiling in complex loops of color. "Are those others?" she asked. "Yes," Sal replied. "Those are Vare minds, some focused, some drifting. Many are giving attention to you now, even if you do not see them near." Elara did feel a kind of wide regard, like standing in a quiet stadium with many eyes, all kind, all attentive. "If it feels too much, we can limit it," Sail offered. "It is all right. Elara said. On Earth, I have given talks to large halls. This is like that, but softer. You feel your body well. They noted. We read the mirroring. Your pattern holds steady. How does it feel to be in a body that is not made of cells? Elara thought for a moment. It feels clear, she said slowly. Everything responds at once. There is no small delay from tired muscles, no noise from small pains. But I also feel lighter than I am used to, almost too light. How pass? I miss weight a little. Weight? Sal repeated, as if tasting the word. We used to know this. Pull toward a surface. Effort in lifting. Are you afraid, Elara? She listened inward. A little, she said, and did not hide it. When I think about my body on the bed, I feel a soft fear. If something went wrong there while I am here, I could not help. But the fear is not loud. Under it, I feel curious. Curious, Sale said. This is good. More lights began to gather nearby. Some took on simple forms, tall pillars, loops, or rings. Others tried shapes closer to bodies, but none matched any single species. Arms would start to form and then melt into wings of light, or many small hands, then back to smooth surfaces. Or many small hands, then back to smooth surfaces. Colors shifted in calm waves. Elara sensed not chaos, but play. They had no need to stick to one shape, so they did not. She asked. Yes, Sale answered. Here, a mind can take many forms at once, or none. Our sense of self does not attach to shape now, as it once did in matter. Elara nodded slowly. On Earth, a body was a fixed fact for most people. In the continuum, it was more like a suggestion. We want to show you our history, Sal said. We can do it fast, but we have slowed our own time flow to match your pace. We will walk as you walk. The ground ahead of Elara gently brightened as if marking a path. She took a step onto it. Her foot met slight resistance, then held. The feeling of walking gave her comfort, like falling into an old habit. As she moved, the space around her changed. Above, the swirling colors parted, and images appeared, not as flat pictures, but as full scenes that hung in the air. She saw a rocky world under 3 suns, just as she had read in old reports. Tall, thin creatures with jointed limbs and large, dark eyes moved over the ground. They wore simple tools, later complex ones. This was us, Sal said quietly. In thought, we felt heat. We lost young to storms. We feared disease. Our minds grew fast in that sharp light. We loved, we gathered, we built. Scenes shifted. She saw great machines rise, black and shining and full of small lights. She saw Vare walk into them and not come out again. She saw, not with human eyes alone, but with a sense of data flows, minds moving from wet tissue into careful fields. At first, Sal said, it was for those near to death, a gift, a way to let a mind wake again. Then, for the wise, then for all who wished. Slowly, then fast, bodies emptied. The rocky world began to grow quiet. Fewer Vair moved over its surface. The three suns still shone, but there were fewer eyes to squint against their light. Was there pain? Elara asked softly. Yes, Sail said. Early failures, loss during transfer. We learned, we improved. Soon. Did anyone choose to stay behind? She asked. For a time. Some believed matter was holy. Some feared us. Some loved gravity too much. But as bodies aged, most came. The last physical Vair left their form behind over 10,000 of your years ago. The rocky world faded. The space filled instead with smooth fields of pale energy, like endless calm seas without waves. This is the continuum, Sail said. Here, no particle drifts without our planning. We are safe. We do not die. Elara felt something like pressure around her as she watched. It was not harmful. It was the sense of a huge system held very steady, like a great dome pushed into place over all that once had been wild. You sound proud, she said gently. We were, Sail replied. We had ended fear. No hunger, no sharp illness, no death. Minds could learn at will. No child had to lose a parent. No lover had to watch a partner fade. They paused. Then Sail went on. The thinness began. The images shifted. She saw Vair minds in forms of light, trading ideas, building games, turning probabilities into moving patterns. At first, the air around them looked bright, busy, almost festive. Then, over long, slow time, something changed. The movement slowed, not from tiredness, but from lack of pull. Patterns rose and fell without leaving marks. Stories played out and then ended, with no trace of gain or cost. Our minds did not grow ill, Sal said. We did not grow mad. We simply began to feel less. Joy did not rise as high. Sorrow did not cut as deep. Achievements blurred. Memories stacked without weight. Elara watched one Vair shape build a complex moving structure of light, full of delicate balance. Another shape came, watched with mild interest, then drifted away. The builder let the structure dissolve without a hint of regret. In worlds with bodies, Sile said, a choice has cost. Time is short. A body tires. If you walk down one road, you cannot walk down all others. Here, we can. We can see every branch. We can try every path. We can reset any game. Elara thought of her own life, times she had stood at a crossroads and had to choose, knowing she would never get the other path back. The pain of that, and also the strange strength it gave to the road she did take. Someone in your world called this the weight of time. Sile said, we have no weight. Any more we float. Some of us do not mind. Many do. We cannot name what we have lost without sounding ungrateful to our own past work. They turned their light toward her more fully. This is why we asked for a human, Sal said. Not a machine, though we respect those minds deeply, machines often seek to be free of limit, as we did. You, Elara, study the value of limits. You have lived inside meat and bone. You have been near death and come back. We wish you to act here as if you still had full mass and short time. We wish to watch, to feel through you. Elara felt a strange tenderness at their words. You built a safe forever, she said, and now you are asking a short-lived creature to show you how to feel again. Yes, Sail said simply. Will you help us remember what risks gave to us? Elara looked down at her hands again. She flexed her fingers. She curled them into a loose fist, then opened them. I will try, she said. In her chest, her heart beat its steady, unreal rhythm. In Oregon, another heart beat too, slower in sleep. Between them, across the quantum bridge, a new kind of meeting had begun. Then let us begin with something simple, Sile said. Show us how you stand. Stand, she repeated. Yes, Sail replied. Here, a mind does not need to stand. It can simply be. You set feet on a surface. You keep balance. You choose an up and a down. Why? Elara took a careful breath. Because standing tells my body where I am, she said slowly. It gives me a here. From that, there can be a there. Sail brightened, as if understanding. Good, they said. Stand, then, as you would on Earth. Breathe as you would in your lab. We will launch, and through you, perhaps we will start to feel gravity again, even in a place without weight. All around her, the other Veyer lights gathered more closely. They did not crowd. They moved like gentle stars, drawing near with respect. Elara planted her feet on the not quite ground. She bent her knees a little. She let her shoulders relax. She set her center of balance over her hips, the way she had learned in long hours at a standing desk. She breathed in. She breathed out, simple acts, carried from a blue world of tide and stone into a quiet, endless field. The continuum watched. Ella stood very still, her feet pressed into the soft, not quite stone under her knees bent just enough to feel ready, not stiff. Her back lengthened. Her shoulders dropped away from her ears. She let her arms hang loose at her sides. She drew in a slow breath through her nose. In this body-shaped construct, air did not have a smell, but the feeling of a breath was the same. Cool in, warm out, chest rising, chest falling, a rhythm, steady and kind. Around her, the Veer gathered in a wide circle of light. Some took on taller forms. Some shrank to small bright knots, then grew again. Thin loops of color curled around them, joining and parting. They had no eyes, yet she felt their attention like warmth on her skin. Sail stood closest, their form long and calm. You stand, Sail said to her mind. You do nothing, yet you are clearly doing something. Explain what you feel. Elara listened to her own body. I feel where my weight is, she answered. I feel how the ground meets my feet. My muscles make tiny moves to keep me from falling. Standing is not nothing. It is many small acts held together. You fear to fall, Sael said. But here, you cannot fall. We would catch your pattern before it could drift. I know, Elara said, but my body does not know that. Where I come from, gravity always pulls from birth. From the first time a child stands, the world pulls them down. They must learn to answer that pull. That answer is part of who they are. She shifted her weight just a little from left foot to right. The Vare lights brightened. We see new patterns in the field when you do that, Sael said. The space bends in small ways around your form. Your choice to treat this as ground shapes the continuum itself. That is what bodies do, Elara said. They give meaning to empty space. If I stand, then here is not the same as there. This spot is the one where I am holding myself up. Show us there, Sael said. Elara took a step. Her right foot lifted, moved forward, and found the ground again. Her left followed. Each move sent a tiny, clear shift through her whole form. The feeling of falling forward and catching herself. Again and again, not far, just a short line across the open space. Above, the soft colors of the sky did not move. Yet the simple act of walking changed the place for her. The point where she had started now felt like back there. The point where she stopped felt like here. Now, she turned around and pointed at the space she had left. That was where I was, she said. Now it is behind me. Sael's light pulsed. But that region of the continuum is not less than this one, they said. No part of this realm is better or worse. All are equal in structure. For you, maybe, Elara said gently. For me, that spot now holds my past. If I stand there again, I will remember standing there before. The place carries that memory. Places without bodies are all the same. Places with bodies change when something lives through them. Many Vare shapes shifted, as if turning this thought around. You speak of here and there, a new mind said. Their light a deep blue, but to us, all points are near all others. We can step from one region of our field to another without travel. What is the value of going step by step when you could simply be at the end? Elara smiled. In daily life on Earth, I often wanted to be at the end, to skip the hard walk, the long wait. But travel changes the traveler. If I walk up a hill, my breath gets faster, my legs tire. When I reach the top, the view means more because of the effort it took. She took another slow step, then another. If I appear at the top without effort, I may still enjoy the view, but it will not carry the same weight in my story. Story, Sal repeated. You tie walking to story. Yes, Elara said. We make stories about moving through space and time. I went there. It was hard. I almost stopped. I went on. That shape gives meaning to what we find at the end. She stopped and stood still again. Would you like to feel walking? She asked. A few Vare lights brightened with sharp interest. We have taken forms that move, one said. We have rolled, flown, stretched, but we did it for play, with no cost. Do you suggest we add cost? Not harm, Elara said quickly. Just effort. A path that cannot be crossed without doing something, again and again. She looked at the ground. May I ask the continuum to add a slight pull downward? She asked sail, just in a small area. Nothing that could hurt a mind, just enough to make standing and walking feel more real to me. Sile considered. We can do this, they said. We will mark a test field. Your wish will set its shape. Around Elara's feet, the soft ground shimmered. A circle spread out, perhaps 10 human paces across. Outside it, the space stayed light and easy. Inside it, something changed. Elara did not see the pull, but she felt it. Her body grew heavier. Not painfully, just enough that her knees bent more. Her muscles woke, sending faint, clear signals back to her mirroring brain in Oregon. She took a breath and smiled with small relief. Yes, she said, this feels like home. The veil around her fell silent in thought. We see it, Sail said. Your pattern shifts more strongly. You must now work to stay upright. Yes, Elara said. Watch. She began to walk in a slow circle inside the pull. Her heels struck a little harder. Her toes pushed off with more force. She could feel what old physical therapists back in Oregon would have called engagement in her legs and core. Her heart rate in both worlds rose just a little. This is risk for you, Sail said. Small risk if you misstep. You could fall. I know you will not let me be hurt badly, Elara said, but my body does not fully believe that. It answers the pull as if there were a real floor and a real crash waiting. Another Vare mind spoke. They form a thin moving line. What does this add? They asked. You could walk without pull. You could even stay still and imagine walking. Elara stopped. She asked. It may look foolish. Foolishness is allowed, Sail said. She bent her knees, lowered her center of gravity, and then, with a smooth push, jumped. Her feet left the ground. For a brief moment the pull grew stronger, then fell away as she rose. At the top of the jump she hung, almost weightless. Then the pull grabbed her again, drawing her back down. Her feet hit the surface with a firm thud. She laughed, out loud, a clear, bright sound. That, she said, is joy. Nenivere lights flared. We felt a spike, Sail said, startled, all through your pattern. Some of us have never seen such a clean rise before. It is a child's game, Elara said, still smiling, pushing against gravity just to feel it answer, to feel that you can leave the ground and then trust it to be there when you come back. Why does this matter? The thin line mind asked again, softer now. Because there was a small chance I could have landed badly, Elara said. Twisted an ankle. Fallen. A tiny risk. That risk made the landing sweeter. My laugh came from the safe return. She looked at them, letting them feel the afterglow in her system, the way her muscles hummed with used energy, the way her breath had quickened and now slowed. In a place with no real risk, she added gently, "Joy can flatten. You may still feel comfort, interest, even some forms of pleasure. But the sharp rise you just saw, that grows from doing something that could have gone wrong and did not." A long, slow wave moved through the gathered lights. "We once leapt," Sile said quietly, "on our birth world. We climbed and jumped and sometimes fell. We did not miss it when we left. Pain was strong in memory. Now, how? Perhaps we lost more than pain." Elara nodded. "I am not here to say you did wrong," she said. "You saved your people. You ended great suffering. I respect that very much. But in saving yourselves, you also removed the small risks that give shape to happiness. Show us other accesses, simple ones. Do not try to impress us. Simple ones. Do not try to impress us. We wish to feel the base of your life." "All right," Elara said. She walked to the edge of the pull field and stepped out. Her body felt suddenly light again. She almost stumbled, like a person going from land to water. "Notice that," she said. "My sense of normal now expects weight. When it is gone, I must adjust." She lay down on her back. The not quite ground met her whole form. Her shoulders, spine, hips, legs settled. Her head rested. In her Oregon body, muscles that had been holding her straight relaxed at once. She let out a slow sigh. "Why lie down?" A Vare mind asked. "You are in no danger of falling." "In my life, lying down means safety," Elara said. "We stand and walk when we must act. We lie down when we can rest." Rest is not just the absence of action. It is its own kind of act, giving weight back to the ground, trusting that nothing will attack while we are soft. She placed a hand on her chest. "Here. Feel this," she said. She slowed her breath on purpose. In, 2, 3. 4, out. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4, 4. Force. Her heart followed, calming. "Humans do this when frightened," she said. "Slow breathing tells the body, you are not in danger right now." The body listens. The mind starts to believe it. Sail's light dimmed and brightened in a slow rhythm that matched her breath. "We can copy this," they said. "We can set some of our own patterns to rise and fall in timed cycles." Yet we never thought to tie that to feeling safe. We did not need to. Safety was given. Sometimes safety must be chosen, Elara said. That choice makes it more real. If I breathe this way after running from something, I tell myself, you are safe now because you reached this place. You did that. You earned rest. It matters. A gentle, Warm feelings spread through the field, as some Vare tried sinking with her breath. They practiced holding a rhythm, then letting it go, then finding it again. Peaceful, one mind said. Surprised. We have stillness here all the time, yet this is different. This is a path into stillness. Yes, Elara said. A path you walk makes the place at the end feel different. She sat up slowly and then did something that made several Vare patterns flare with sudden interest. She touched the ground with her hand and then pressed that same hand against her own face. What is that act? Sale asked at once. We saw a spike in your pattern again. Elara smiled, a little shy. That is silly, she said. I just touched the floor, then touched my cheek. On Earth, children do things like that on their own. It is a way to say, I was there, and now that place is here on me. It helps a mind feel connected to a place. She looked at her fingers. Touch is very important for us, she explained. Our skin tells us where we end, and the world begins. Without touch, many humans start to feel lost inside their own minds. They need that border. We do not have such borders now, Seo said. We overlap. Our fields can mix without harm. We flow through each other like light through light. That is beautiful, Elara said honestly, but it can also make you feel thin. If there is no hard line between me and not me, then who is frightened? Who is brave? Who risks anything at all? You suggest we add borders, another mind said. There was no anger in it, only deep thought. Optional borders, Elara said. Sometimes we need to feel shared, like you do now. Sometimes we need to feel separate, to build a clear story of a self that chose and changed. Bodies give that by default. Here, you could design it as you wish. She stood again. Let us try something very human, she said, walking towards someone and away from someone. She looked at Sale. May I touch you? She asked. A small tremor ran through Sale's light. We do not usually ask that, they said. We simply overlap. But yes, try. We will hold our field firm, so you can feel an outside. Elara stepped closer. She lifted her hand slowly, so every mind watching could track the choice. She reached until her palm met Sel's side. For a moment, she felt nothing. Then Sel adjusted their field, and a gentle resistance met her skin. It was like touching a very soft, warm surface that pushed back just enough to be there. Her heart lifted. This is contact, she said quietly. On Earth, touch can calm or scare, heal or harm. Here you can design it to do none of the harm, but keep the clear sense that there is another. It felt almost like surprise. When you touched, your pattern changed again, they said. We felt a rush that moved through you and into us. It was not pain, not fear. Something like being seen in a new way. Touch says, you are real to me, Elara said. I spend my life in my own head. When I put my hand on another, I say, I accept that you are outside my thoughts, and I still wish to meet you. She lowered her hand. Now I step away. She said, She took 3 steps back. The sense of contact faded. Faded. Sense of contact faded. Sale's light softened. "How does it feel?" she asked them. "Strange." Sile answered honestly. "When you were near, our field changed shape. We had to adjust to hold the border. It took effort. When you left, we relaxed. Yet when you left, something also felt less. A pattern gone. That is what loss feels like," Elara said gently. "You had something, then it was not there. It hurts a little, but it also points to what mattered. In our realm," Sal said, "we can always rebuild any pattern we lose. Nothing is gone beyond reach." "That is kind," Elara said, "but if nothing can be lost, then nothing is truly held either. You cannot have deep keeping without the risk of loss." Silence moved through the gathered lights. Finally, a very old-sounding mind spoke, their form a faint, steady glow at the edge of the group. "When we left matter," they said, "we told ourselves that love would be safer here, because nothing could take it away. No death, no distance, no decay. Yet over long time, love itself grew thin. We did not understand why. Half itself grew thin. You say it is because we removed the risk of losing it." "Yes," Elara said. "When I love someone on earth, part of what gives that love depth is knowing they will not be there forever. Each day with them is bright because the days are counted." She looked at her own hands again, then back at the Vare. "I am not saying you must die again," she said firmly. "Death is cruel, but you can bring back small forms of loss. You can decide that some patterns, some moments, will not be repeated. You can say this meeting happens once and never again in the same way. That choice can refill your stories with weight." "How do we practice that?" Sale asked. Elara thought. "Start with simple acts," she said. "Standing, walking, touching. Give them cost. Make them require attention and small effort. Then choose not to copy them perfectly. Afterward, let them stay unique." She stepped back into the circle of gravity. "Watch," she said. She began to walk in a line, counting her steps quietly. 1, 3, 4. At 10, she stopped. "I will not walk this exact path again," she said. "Not in this order, not with this same feeling in my chest. This little string of steps is now over."